three.
All right, as everybody in Manny show, and this is part two to the incredible 1978 albums Hemispheres by the greatest band in the galaxy, Rush. So how's it going, Manny?
Oh, pretty good, brother. So, trying to come down after the first part.
I know it's like we just did a bunch of acid. It's like
I know.
Nietzsche is pretty much taking acid. It's like so fucking heavy. And it's in how Neil applied this philosophy in a what did you say, 18-minute long epic.
It's an epic song. It's like transcends like rock and roll.
Oh yeah. So for our viewers, we just analyzed the first part, Hemispheres, and it's about the Greek mythology in the two halves of the brains, Apollo and Dionysus, using a Nietzschean concept. And definitely check it out with that in mind. Listen to the lyrics, do some research, educate yourself, because that's what Neil wanted to do. I think, definitely deep down. I think he is really the professor.
Oh,
If
he's
you think
definitely
about
the
it,
professor.
not only are the drums, but I mean, like, how friggin' talented was that guy? When you think about it, the greatest drummer, and his lyricism with philosophy and mythology. Like the guy was so special, man. They don't make him like that anymore.
No,
That's
Neil
that's like
Peart's like, oh no, you
sad.
said it. He's like one of the greatest drummers, He's like, it's funny
Oh
because
yeah,
his sort of like, yeah, talk about like hemispheres, right? His
yeah,
his duel is it's just my opinion, like Phil Collins, who
yeah, yeah.
I consider one of the greatest drummers of all time.
Oh yeah,
His
definitely.
lyrics are is definitely more of sort of like the emotion poppy side,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
pop
yeah, yeah,
music and
yeah.
stuff. But yeah, man, they don't make him like they used to anymore. Neil Peart's just
No,
on a whole nother level.
and on this album, Neil's gonna get into his jazz style.
Hmm.
You're gonna see the jazziness come out on the instrumental. And Neil got into jazz. He was on Burning for Buddy Rich tributes. So in the 80s or 90s, Buddy Rich's daughter contacted him, and he played actual jazz with these Buddy Rich's band. Buddy Rich had a huge influence on Neil. Those of you who don't know Buddy Rich, I personally think he's the greatest jazz. He's Neil Peart on triple, quadruple. Ever watched any of his solos? It's like his left and right hand are like it's like
Yeah.
playing. It's like going so fast. It's crazy. So thoughts just on where we ended off.
Yeah, so we just wrapped up side one, talking about Cygnus, right? The hemispheres, and now we're gonna move on to side
Yep.
two, starting.
Yep.
And again, side two will include two shorter tracks, and then we'll
Yeah.
conclude with an instrumental, a long instrumental, 9 minutes.
Yeah.
The first short track is Circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Probably
And
one of my favorite songs by Rush for many reasons. Like
what's funny about that?
musically.
Well, before you continue, it's funny. This song was in their attempt to break away from the prog formula.
You think
I
so?
I have this in my notes. No, I read it from the
Oh,
band.
really? Oh, I didn't know that.
This was an attempt. It was qualified by Getty Lee as an experiment.
I
So
never knew that.
they were playing around with breaking from that prog formula. Yeah.
But it's still proggy as fuck.
No, it's funny. They say that, and I'm just like, wait, what?
It's got that middle section. Bow down, boom, 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 na, 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 na. It's like,
Yeah.
and then there's a great keyboard solo at the end that I learned when I played with a band at one time. That's a great example of the Moog synthesizer where Getty, and we could also talk about Getty as a keyboard player. We'll save that a little bit towards the end, where
Well, yeah. Well, I was gonna
underrated
say
keyboard player.
under underrated, honestly, and it won't come out to the forefront until like I think Moving Pictures, right? And
Oh
then
yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah.
already starting, but first of all, talk about like we talked about Neil Peart, Geddy Lee as a bass player too, man. Like, wow,
Oh, forget it.
one of the
I think he
greatest.
I think he is the
Greatest.
greatest. My opinion.
And the
You
fact
know
that
him.
then he did an Eddie Van Halen when he brought keyboards in, these
Yeah,
virtuosos,
yeah.
and just dude, what they were doing with it, it's like, dang.
And Getty is not a virtuoso like Emerson, but what he does is he fits the band perfectly by how he
Puzzle
plays
piece,
to the
perfect
song.
puzzle piece.
Yeah, and he's going to develop as the albums go on. He's going to become a way better keyboard player. Um, more. He's going to probably be playing more notes and everything. So let's start off with circumstances. So the first track. What was your take on circumstances?
So with circumstances, well, first of all, I love the song. It's kind of like a tight little package. Um, but I'll be honest with you. Well, let me hear your opinions. What do you think, Cheech? What?
All right. So circumstances. What I got from it, it's circumstances are the lives that that we live, and it's the concept of our upbringing, environment, experiences.
Hmm.
It's our influences, our personalities, our beliefs, our decisions, our circumstances define us as people, and that's
Hmm.
what I get out of the lyrics. And the lyrics touch on free will and destiny. And there's a line where I think Getty was saying, like, in the song, where like it's the same old me. So like when they would come home from tours and they'd hang out with friends, people were like, "Oh my God, like you're a celebrity. You're somebody different now." When they knew
Hmm.
him as a kid, and Getty's like, "No, I'm the same old me. I'm the same person. Just because I'm playing to 11,000 people and people know me and I'm getting known, I'm the same, old me." And the circumstances, like, destiny, that's a big thing. It's destined how Rush met Neil. Because if they didn't meet Neil, they would not have any of this, I think.
Well, I was gonna say, the song is autobiographical. It's like Neil Peart.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't, yeah, but it's just throwing it out there. That would make a lot of sense.
yeah, definitely. So that's just my take on it. And then the keyboard solo at the very end, I love.
Yeah.
Check out that keyboard solo. Um, it's minimalistic, but it's right to the point. And the keys on this album are a lot of chords. There's definitely some melodies going on. It's not
Yeah.
too heavy. Xanadu and Farewell to Kings, he kind of jams out a little bit more on the
No, this
keyboards.
one's tight.
Yeah, this is more minimal and you know, shows off his keyboard chops.
Hmm.
Okay, so then the next track. So anything else on circumstances?
No, I think fantastic song. I think you
Oh,
hit all the
incredible,
points.
incredible. Thank you. And then the next one is the trees. Now,
Just
to me,
this,
this is pure, like, this could be Coleridge. This, you know what I mean? This is the
I, I
genius.
was gonna say, dude, it's so Tolkien-esque, and you know
Yeah,
what? It's funny. So, for if anyone listens to the song, they're gonna be like, "Oh, trees," and they're gonna read the lyrics, maples, and oh, this is corny, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but listen with the music, and
Oh my
Rush
God.
transports us into. I think it's like a fable.
Yeah, it's like the Wizard of Oz. I think about those trees in the Wizard of Oz that talk. That was when I was younger. That's what I envisioned in my head.
Yeah,
But it's true. Next time you look at a tree, think about my analogy here. Um, so the trees. This is my analysis of it. Written by Neil. The trees are divided into two groups: the oaks and the maples. Now, this could be going back to the brain, the left and right side of the brain.
yeah, yeah.
This could be people. It's definitely people, I think. So the oaks are strong and sturdy and rigid. The maples are flexible and adaptable. How do you feel about that?
So, wait, say that again.
Okay. So the oaks are strong and sturdy and rigid, and the
Hmm.
maples are flexible and adaptable.
So again, it's like that Dionysian and Apollo theme
Yeah,
once again,
the
and I
the
guess
maples, are
maples
Dionysus
want more,
too.
and no, and I'm just reading here like the maple trees want more sunlight, but the
Yeah,
oak trees are too tall. So they're also you can think of them as like the priests from 2112 as well.
exactly. You could
That
put
theme
that in
comes
there.
back again.
Yeah. Other themes in the song, about conformity and the dangers of unchecked power, which
Hmm.
would be coming from the Oaks. Um, you know, so like I said, the Oaks are rigid and oppressive forces. The Maples represent flexibility, and they are adaptable individuals who are able to thrive with the Maples. So the Oaks are resentful of the Maples, who are weak and dependent on others.
Hmm.
So that could just be a human emotion. That could just be going back to like to people
Yeah.
in a philosophy kind of thing. And then it's total poetry. There's unrest in the forest. There's trouble with the trees. The maples want more sunlight. The oaks ignore their pleas. And in the end, the conflict between the groups is resolved. You know, and that relates
And
to
no, and by a hatchet, axe, and saw.
exactly.
What's your take? Like, this song, it's kind of it's a mix of fable and parable. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
trying it has a message, yeah, about I think equality and again that idea of collectivism.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
one of the
That's
lyrics here says, as the maples scream oppression and the oaks just shake their heads. That's like us working at the, I guess we would be the maples, right?
we're
Certain
totally
people,
maples.
certain people would be the
there's,
certain
there's
people
a
would be
lot of
the oaks.
oaks at the temple. Yeah,
Dude, look at these lyrics. Look, you just mentioned part of it. There's unrest in the forest, trouble with the trees, for the maples want more sunlight. Us and the
yeah,
oaks ignore their pleas. Like, dude,
exactly. Yep. And the rigidness of the
yeah.
oaks, that's a key thing. And I love how I didn't even bring up the ending, hatchet, axe, and saw. What is that telling you? Goodbye,
What
trees.
yeah.
You're going to be made into houses. You're going to be used in buildings. So they're going to cut down the forest.
I was gonna say, looking deeper into it, hatchet, axe, and saw. Okay, trees did not create a hatchet, axe, and saw, right? That those are human tools.
Yeah, yeah,
The song doesn't mention anything about humans, right? But they're
right.
having their own battle. But it's like in the end, like you just said, they're gonna be made equal and eventually gonna be
Yeah,
made into houses, paper, or
or whatever. Yeah. So they're
chopped
done.
down.
So they're basically getting chopped down. That's a great insight on that. Okay. So okay. Now this is a good one. The instrumental. I always probably say it wrong. La Villa Strange Strange Legato. I mean, I always say it.
Wait. First of all, is that Italian or French?
Well, I'm gonna bring it up. It's Spanish and Italian. From
Really?
from what I think, and you could help me with this. So let me just talk a little bit about the song first. It's an instrumental that showcases the musician's creativity and mastery of prog rock.
Yep.
Neil's going to show off his jazz drumming skills,
Yep.
which is going to take him to further heights, and by playing with the Buddy Rich Orchestra, way down the road. Getty goes completely insane. That would be the best way to put Getty Lee's bass lines. There's one line, I don't know if you remember at the very end, it's almost like a Jaco Pastorius line. He's just going crazy. And they were listening to fusion at this time. Getty had admitted he was listening to a bass player named Jeff Berlin. So a
Hmm.
lot of you people who don't know Jeff Berlin, definitely check him out. Great bass player. He actually played with Yes at one point when they were Anderson, Wakeman, Bruford, and Howe. Remember that one album?
Yep, yep.
Chris,
You talked about that.
yeah, Chris Squire didn't play on that, and they got Jeff Berlin and Alex. Just you know, is Alex, and he rips so many great solos, and the dynamics in this song, the light and the shade, how they almost go down to nothing. Alex is doing those awesome swells like he
Yeah.
does in Xanadu. I don't know why my hair keeps going in my mouth. I'm sorry. Yeah, air conditioner. Um, so okay, here we go. So it's a jazz and rock fusion. This is my research on it. La Villa means city in
Hmm.
Spanish.
Well, yeah,
Strange,
La Villa. Yeah, I could see
yeah,
that.
yeah. Forgive my gringo
Nah, nah.
pronunciation.
Dude, no worries, man.
Um, and Strange Legato is made up of um, Spanish and Italian, meaning strange.
Okay.
So that's pretty much the title. Um, so, so way the music came was Alex had a nightmare,
Hmm.
and the music showed up in his dream. You ever dream of music?
You?
Like I have. I
Unless you
wrote
get those.
riffs in my dreams, and I get up and run to my bass and try to get close to it, or you hear music in your dreams.
Well, I was gonna say famously, a lot of the famous songs that we know and love have come to artists in dreams.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So
that's
this
like a
is
thing.
yeah, this is definitely one that has came to him, heard the music in a dream, and it was done in two sections, and they did it one take. They didn't go back and fix anything. That's how tight this band was when they recorded that. And this is funny, and I think I sent it to you. The cartoon. Did you listen to the cartoon theme?
I did. No,
So
they included it.
yeah, they took the theme from a Warner Brothers cartoon called the Powerhouse. And if you go to YouTube, you can hear the cartoon, and then if you go to the Rush tune, you can definitely hear what they did. They just made it, they perfected it a little bit, and they were scared that Raymond Scott Publishing was going to sue them, so they had to get the rights and they had to wait for all that stuff, and they give him credit, fear of a lawsuit. And like I said, it was recorded in two parts, all in one take, and it is just I would say the beginning of like for them almost it was like almost fusion rock.
Hmm.
Out of all their instrumentals, it's like
Yeah,
it's like fusion. It's not YYZ is definitely prog rock, them jamming, but this has so many fusion elements in it.
yeah.
You could tell that their influences were listening to fusion bands like Al Demiola, uh, you know,
Kind of sounds
probably
like
maybe
a Frank
Weather.
Zappa. It kind of sounds like a Frank Zappa song.
Kind of, yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
strange because yeah, yeah. And I'll be honest with you, it is. So La Villa Strangiato, I think that.
yeah, yeah,
So and you're right. It's translated. It's kind of like it would be the strange city or weird city. Eh,
yeah. And I wonder where, like, what they're referring to, what
ah,
city,
I,
like what
yeah,
I
yeah,
be, and they've been to a lot of them,
yeah. Must have been
so.
must have been from Alex's dream though, if anything.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. So
And so in terms of like a Rush song, I think first of all, it's fantastic and it's an instrumental which they would go on to do,
yeah,
YYZ as
yep,
well. But it is
yep.
strange sounding because you're right. It's like that rock fusion, which is interesting. There's um a few strange sonic elements within the song.
Oh, definitely,
I would
yeah.
say kind of jazzy, and then they include that theme song too, which is funny. When I first listened to this instrumental, I
Hmm.
heard that part, right? Like dun 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 dun
Yeah,
dun
yeah,
dun.
yeah.
I was like,
Awesome.
where have I heard that before? Like it was in my consciousness, like where have I heard this
Exactly.
before?
And
And I was
just
like,
like they quoted Tchaikovsky in
yeah,
the
yeah,
so that is like a cool thing that they did. They would quote classical music cartoons, probably just their humor, their sense of humor. Being the clowns that they are. They're always joking and stuff. That was probably Alex.
Well,
I think
well,
that really
well,
think that.
let me, if I can share the stories. This is
Yeah,
drummer Neil Peart on the Villa Strangiato. So
yeah,
he says, quote, "This is Alex's brain." So before I read on, this is, I think, like, this song probably encapsulates some part of Alex. So he says, in every section of that song is different dreams that Alex would tell us about, and we'd say, "Stop, stop." It was these bizarre dreams that he would insist on telling you every detail about. So it became a joke between Getty and me. La Villa Strangiato means strange city, and there was so much going on in that. There's also a big band section in there, which was absolutely, he says, for me, I always wanted to play that approach. Interesting thing for him to say, right? Play with a big band and cartoon music. And then he said we got in trouble because we used music from that 1930s cartoon. So,
yeah, yeah. I don't know if there was a lawsuit. I know they end up crediting, the publisher and stuff. But I definitely think one of my favorite instrumental. I mean, YYZ is my all-time favorite
I was gonna
instrumental. But
say,
then
amazing.
this would be my second from because there's not a there's a lot more atmospheric. If you compare the two songs, it's more atmospheric than
Yeah,
YY. YYZ has a breakdown in it
yeah.
where it gets mellow.
Well, YYZ is, I love what you said about that. The atmosphere and the Via
Yeah.
Strangiato definitely makes it seem,
Oh,
true
definitely. Yeah.
to its title, The Strange City. While YYZ is tight, it's packed, and it's La Via Strangiato leaves room. Well, first of all, it's 9 minutes. YYZ is like 4 minutes, right? She's like 3 to 4 minutes.
Quick. Yeah.
Um, and La Via Strangiato has a lot of sonic, like it opens room for, like, the music to fill in everywhere,
Yeah.
and creates, like, what you just said, like this rock jazz fusion.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
like Alex's guitar notes are, you know, um, they get in your face, but he's just, exploring like sonic textures
That's a great point.
in this
Extra.
song. So it's strange for a Rush song. It's strange.
It is. It is because it's definitely out of the realm compared to like Fly By Night, even Caress
Yeah.
of Steel,
Yeah.
even Farewell to Kings. They weren't getting this proggy. This is
Yeah.
prog.
Yep.
This is almost like Brand X, Phil Collins' band. After in between, the Genesis stuff. I don't know if you ever heard Brand X.
No, no.
It's
Oh, I'm gonna
real
note that.
fusion. Yeah, check that out. It's a real fusion rock kind of thing. Because fusion rock was huge at this time. At this time, you had like Weather Report, Spyro Gyra, Return to Forever. In these, like Jaco Pastorius was like, the bass god at the
Hmm.
time in 1978. So fusion rock was, they were they were well-known bands. Weather Report would be playing the Garden and stuff like that. So they were taking their influences definitely from fusion on this album, on this song. I mean, so
And just something to note here, in 2018, Getty said that this was a song where I would have to say our ideas exceeded our ability to play them. So I think you mentioned this at the beginning of the episode. This is a song that kind of broke them. He
yeah,
continues. He says, "We thought we were going to write this long piece and then we'll just record it live and off the floor and boom, right?" And I guess you'll explain, maybe you can give a quick explanation of what he means by that, right? Like
yeah,
takes versus,
yeah,
right? Before you do, just want to, he says here, but it was really difficult. It was beyond us. I included it here because it surprised me how popular the song was among our fans. So in their live sets, they just love it when we go into that crazy mode. And he says, yes, it is an indulgence, but it seemed to be a pivotal moment for us in creating a fan base that wanted us to be that way. Right.
right.
So like, this song just comes from a dream.
Yep.
Rush fans, like you and I, like, we love this song.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
especially when like that part comes down, dun 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 dun,
Oh yeah.
like
And then
we,
Getty is going nuts. Talk about
oh yeah,
self, like his bass lines are just like I said, very Jeff Berlin. They're all over the place. Neil Peart's drumming is jazzy. That's a word that I remember reading a lot about self-indulgence, which is in a good way for Rush. When you're a prog band, you want to show your chops.
yeah,
You don't
right,
want to do
right,
it like in a, you know, in a song that's really simple, it's going to be too much. But they
Right.
knew they did it perfectly. They knew how to do it.
And I think it's a swan song to their prog rock era because
Oh, definitely.
honestly, it's really weird how these elements come together. And this is because again, this would be the last in terms of their discography, their last artful prog,
Yeah,
you know, masterpieces. They're gonna create other masterpieces and will become Rush as people know them
yeah.
as. But this song kind of, I think, also was a swan song as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. This was the beginning of them leading up to the moving pictures, to their masterpiece, moving pictures, permanent waves, leading up to them being like the trees has a commercial thing to it a little bit, and like then they get, Spirit of the Radio is genius. It's like a commercial song, but yet it has crazy bass intro, like, it has all these self-indulgent kind of things that you wouldn't
Yeah,
normally put in a song, but they knew how to do it. They put it in a compact it.
yeah,
So yeah. So and it's like a farewell to prog rock for them.
yeah.
So, but definitely, I would say I recommend Hemispheres. I don't know how we are with Mrs. Doubtfire.
I think probably good at time. Yeah.
Oh, good, good. Okay.
I don't see if anything we could start. It'll probably come up soon, but yeah, like yeah, I'm with you there. Hemispheres is their, my opinion, of course. In the comments below, feel free if you disagree. I think this is the last of their proggy
Oh yeah, yeah,
masterpieces. It
yeah.
ends, even from the artwork as well, right?
Mhm.
Rush will start to get a little more tighter in terms of their sound.
Yeah, because and even the artwork changes. Because in the '80s, artwork changed.
Yeah,
They were mystical or conceptual albums.
yeah.
No,
Well, if I can say an example,
yeah.
if you look at Yes's album covers in the 70s, they are
Hmm.
so cool. Like there
Oh,
are
now
pieces, but then you look at the artwork in their 80s stuff and you're like, what the,
I know, I
you
know.
know?
Or if you compare this album to Signals, you know,
Hmm.
Signals is comedy. A dog pissing on a fire hydrant. It's Andy Warhol. It's very
Yeah.
simplicity. It didn't take much to do that. A red fire hydrant, I think, in a Dalmatian.
No. And if
You know,
anything, I think the iconic album cover of that time was Moving Pictures. So it's funny when I saw the
yeah,
Signals
yeah,
album cover, I was confused. I was like, what the heck?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like I didn't get it. Now obviously I do, but I was like, wait, this is Rush? Like what?
yeah. And also, Signals is saying hello, as we said,
And
to the new digital recording in the '80s and what's to come with that, and how we talked a lot about Grace Under Pressure. How like that led up to their really that's Rush is '80s sound.
yeah,
Moving Pictures is not really it still has elements of the '70s in it. When
yeah,
when you think about the jamming and stuff. Yeah, Tom Sawyer. It's definitely '80s with the Moog and the
yeah,
keyboards and stuff. But Grace Under Pressure is full blown '80s power
yeah.
windows. We're in the middle of the '80s. A lot of keyboards. Alex has taken not as many solos. A lot of ska influence that you'll start to hear on Grace Under Pressure. Um, so you want to talk a little bit about Grace Under Pressure for a second?
Well,
Because
yes, I think you were
you sent
mentioning it
me
like via text. Like I think I sent you like
the
one of the
famous
live
concert.
performances
Yeah,
and
that's
just
a
seeing,
concert. Yeah,
oh, I saw the whole thing and even listened to it because I think the live albums, if anyone's streaming music, it's on there. The Grace Under Pressure tour, and that this album. So you said it right. It's a different kind of Rush. It begins
yeah,
their 80s phase again. Um, I feel as though um, moving pictures, signals, transitional, I think, but
yeah,
these
yeah, yeah.
albums are. Rush, as a lot of fans know them, but
Right.
then they changed, and I loved what they did. Honestly, I didn't give much attention to Grace Under Pressure, but now again, I always say this in every
It's
episode. It's like my,
overlooked. It's overlooked. For some reason, it's a darker album. I think I said this in the
well, I was
past.
gonna say it's much darker lyrically.
Yeah, Neil was reading the newspaper at the time. There was a lot of things going on in the world, not like now, but like a lot of darker things.
The nuclear war,
Yeah, the
nuclear
nuclear
apocalypse.
war, the Reagan years and stuff like that. So he wrote about that stuff, even though they were from Canada. But I think I read something where he had mentioned something about Reagan and all that stuff. Came out in 1984, and it's interesting because the sound changes
Hmm.
sonically. You hear a lot of electronic drums.
Yeah,
This is when the Simmons drums, even Alex Van Halen had them on Jump.
right,
A lot of
right.
guys would have these. If you ever see
Phil
them, they're like,
Collins used it too.
yeah, yeah.
He
What
would
would you say
change.
they're shaped like? Octagon would be a good word. Is that a
Yeah,
good?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're electric. They're going through an amplifier. I'm not a huge fan of them, but I like the way Neil uses them, and I
Hmm.
love the way Alex Van Halen used them. So they were used in there. Getty switches to a weird Stein Steinberger. It has no headstock.
Yeah, I was gonna say he goes from just if you look at old Getty, right? He's playing double neck bass. His famous Rickenbacker, which him
Yeah.
on the Moving Pictures tour is one of the cool. Like I remember when seeing that, I thought this dude's the coolest dude. Like seeing
Oh
that
yeah.
famous
Yeah.
Rickenbacker playing that bass, but then he goes to like the. It looks like a toy kind of.
Yeah, it's an odd bass. I played one years ago. A
What do you
friend of
think?
mine.
Like, why do bass players would choose to play
Um,
that bass?
it has a different tone. It's a very mid-range tone. Mid-range is between, for those of you who don't know, between the highs and the bass. There's that MIDI sound. Um, Not sure if the neck is graphite, opposed to wood. I could be wrong about that. I know
Hmm.
Kramer made basses like that. Anybody know that and want to comment on that? If it's a graphite neck or wood neck, because it has a very MIDI sound. And when you can't sit down and play the friggin' thing because it's square. It has a little thing where it connects to it that you put on your leg so it stands up. So it's a very odd bass. I mean, I'm not a fan of the sound, but Getty makes it sound good. So he's using his rig. He's using his.
Right.
He didn't change his amps. Um, and then the keys have a huge role in it.
Hmm.
And then the producer is Peter Henderson. They said
Yeah, I was
goodbye to
gonna
Terry.
say, yeah,
Terry Brown is no
Dave
longer,
Brown's no longer there.
and I think they said that Rush is always changing. That they weren't going to be like Maiden and keep the same producer and stuff. And not to say Maiden didn't change. Like Maiden had a nice run, just to compare the two, all through the '80s and into the '90s. But then Maiden didn't really change with the times,
Yeah,
where Rush did,
yeah,
and I think that's why Rush's albums are a lot more valid than say some of
right.
the past like five Iron Maiden albums, which kind of, they're great, but they're
Yeah,
very similar to the older stuff. Rush
yeah,
always,
that's a great point.
uh, Distant Early Warning is the standout track. It's
Oh,
it's phenomenal.
if I can say like this in early warning is so good, but I feel like one of my favorite Rush songs of all time now, After Image though.
Yeah, and
Something
that's the
about
one
that song is
that
so
started off with the.
fantastic.
Oh no, big wait. Did that start off with the dissonant keyboards?
I think yeah, like
Yeah,
down, 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 like
yeah, yeah.
and no,
That's a
and
great.
Getty's vocals on that. And again, it was pretty interesting about these new like this new Rush sound. Is Getty's vocals, he does less of the screeching, high pitch stuff and more
Yeah,
like kind of like that baritone sound. And on
exactly.
this song, his vocals are so beautiful. Like
Yeah.
and he makes the Neil Peart's lyrics like he's singing so
Mhm.
passionately, and just
Well,
you hear like the different keyboard sounds like
yeah. I
different
think.
from like Hemispheres.
Oh, way different. They're a different band. This is not the same band.
No,
Getty, they refined. They learned how to, like, Getty could sing in the keys now. He's not going to scream.
Right.
So he's singing more from his throat. He has a nasally tone, and he doesn't really get that anymore. He's kind of coming from the throaty sound. So you said, yeah. Another thing, a quote, Carl Jung, a page from the Red Book.
That's
I
interesting.
love that line. You know,
I'm gonna look more into that line because that's interesting. I think we were talking
yeah,
about this, like which red book is we referring to? One red book.
yeah. The one, yeah. That's I'm assuming it's the Carl Jung Red Book.
Right.
And I could never find it for years. I was searching for that book. I think you said it's accessible now, the Red Book. And like Nietzsche, they said it's impossible to read. They said that's a
I was gonna
tough.
say. Yeah.
They say it's a very, very tough read. Then there's Red Sector A, which is a great song. And then my favorite one too is "The Enemy Within," and we talked about that. It's a
Oh,
reggae
yes.
song. Has that
Yeah, I love that
ska?
song. Dude, and
Yeah,
live, it's so phenomenal.
yeah,
I don't know if you saw yeah, I was
hmm
like, what song is this? And it's
yeah.
right
The bass
here.
line is very reggae-ish. Alex is doing those kind of skanks on the
Yeah,
guitar,
it's fantastic.
and they look different. Alex has short hair. He cut his hair off. He's got
He did. Dude, and
bob.
he's wearing no, it's funny, he's wearing also, well, Alex's haircut, he cut it short, and Getty is like rocking the 80s mullet.
Yeah, yeah. Well, his mullet gets pretty bad later on. Hold your
Wait,
fight.
wait, Cheech,
He
what was
puts
he
it.
thinking? What was he thinking with the mullet?
Well, Gary said that he looked like Davy Crockett at one point. Like he had a Davy Crockett hat on at Hold Your Fire. Yeah, Getty's hair goes through some interesting changes. Big Money, he's got the total mullet. Because that
Oh,
was a style. That
yeah.
was a style back then. Like
It's
I
making
mean,
a comeback, Cheech. It's making a comeback with
oh
the young
God,
folks. Yeah.
when
The
I
mustache and mullet.
when I was growing my hair, my mother would be like, "Okay, you can have your hair long in the back and a little bit, but we got to cut the sides."
Oh gosh.
But I have a friggin' mullet until the sides grew, and you don't want to see your ears. You never want to
Right.
show your
That's the
ears.
key with long hair. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
also, like, I love long hair and I know better than to cut it short, but then keep it long. Because before I
yeah.
knew what a mullet was, I was like, no, this looks terrible.
I can't believe people want to bring that back. It's like,
It's back. Mustache and the mullet.
what's wrong with these kids today? The retro thing, it's cool. The '80s, bring back the '80s, but do it in music, not in hairstyles. Grow
Yo,
your
these no,
fucking hair.
these young folks are doing it wrong.
If anything, grow your hair really long. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Don't fucking cut it off here. Or
Uh,
your ears are showing.
I, I was gonna
That kind of way.
say,
You know. No, thank you.
no.
Um,
Yeah, and
but
Alex looks again, he looks if you watch the music video, and again, just a warning, Mrs.
he has
Doubtfire,
a.
we have like a minute and 30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
We'll
So let
wrap
me
up.
just the body electric red lens kids glove and between the wheels. So check out Grace Under Pressure 1984 Rush's album that gives them the new Rush sound
Yeah.
that goes all the way to I'm gonna say a decade, and then in the '90s, they kind of adapted to the '90s sound. Like on Counterparts, they get a little grungy. So
Well, I was gonna say 90s, and we'll probably talk about this in another episode. Problem with the 90s that will, end up sort of being the X, right, is a little band called Nirvana.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and again, not only to Nirvana, but rock music changes. It sound
Oh
like
yeah.
really, it's sort of like night and day.
Oh
So
definitely. Yeah.
Rush, like you said, Rush adapted, and a lot of bands
Yeah, they didn't
unfortunately
knock,
couldn't keep
they
up.
didn't knock it like some metal
No,
bands are like, oh fuck grunge. Russian embraced it, which is the beauty of that band. And you can hear it in Alex's. They would tune down. Alex was tuning down to D.
hmm.
The rushes were the rushes. The riffs were grungier, and you know
Darker, right? Darker sound.